Imagine you open a gym. You spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on equipment. You sign a lease on a huge building. You put up a giant sign outside. And then, you start getting members. 500 members. 1,000 members. Maybe even 2,000. Sounds like a money-making machine, right? But here's the strange part. A gym can have thousands of paying members. And the owner can still struggle to make money. Because the real business of owning a gym isn't selling workouts. It's managing recurring revenue, retention, rent, payroll, customer acquisition, and every square foot of your building. And in 2026, the economics are changing fast. The U.S. fitness industry reached a record 81 million gym, studio, and fitness facility members in 2025, with membership penetration reaching 26.1% of Americans age 6 and older. Facility visits also continued growing, reaching levels comparable to the industry's pre-pandemic peak. So the question isn't, do Americans want gyms? They clearly do. The real question is, can a gym owner turn all that demand into profit? And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how the numbers work. When most people think about a gym, they think about treadmills, dumbbells, machines, personal trainers, and people working out. But financially, a gym is much closer to a subscription business. Think about Netflix. Netflix doesn't need you to watch 30 hours every month. They just need you to keep paying. A gym can work the same way. If a gym charges $40 per month and has 1,000 members, that's $40,000 per month, or $480,000 per year. And here's where the economics get interesting. The gym doesn't necessarily need all 1,000 people showing up every single day. In fact, the economics can be much better when members remain subscribed but don't use the facility constantly. That sounds strange, but that's the basic power of recurring revenue. The customer pays every month. The gym provides access, and the business tries to keep that membership active for as long as possible. That's why retention can be more important than constantly finding new customers. And the industry is actually showing encouraging signs here. HFA reported that 2025 had the industry's lowest churn rate in a decade, alongside rising average membership tenure. That matters enormously, because acquiring a new customer costs money. Keeping an existing customer usually costs much less. Let's build a hypothetical gym. Not a giant national chain, just a local 10,000 square foot gym somewhere in America. Let's say it charges an average of $45 per month, and it has 1,200 active members. That's 1,200 times $45 equals $54,000 per month, or $648,000 per year. At first glance, that sounds pretty good. But here's the trap. That $648,000 is revenue. It is not profit. The owner still has to pay for the building, employees, utilities, insurance, cleaning, maintenance, equipment, software, marketing, credit card processing, taxes, repairs, and potentially debt used to finance the business. This is where the economics of owning a gym become much more interesting. Imagine you're paying $12,000 per month for rent and related occupancy costs. That's $144,000 per year. And your gym hasn't even opened its doors yet. This is one of the biggest problems with the traditional gym model. You can't easily shrink your building during a slow month. If membership falls, the rent doesn't care. If January is amazing, the rent doesn't care. If August is slow, the rent still doesn't care. Your lease is fixed. And this creates something incredibly important in gym economics: operating leverage. When revenue grows faster than your fixed costs, profits can rise quickly. But when revenue falls, profits can disappear just as quickly. That's why location matters so much. A gym isn't simply choosing a building. It's choosing a monthly financial obligation. Now let's talk about the equipment. A serious gym can require a huge upfront investment. Cardio machines, squat racks, benches, cable machines, dumbbells, weight plates, functional training equipment, locker rooms, showers, security systems, point-of-sale systems. And then there is construction, flooring, lighting, HVAC, plumbing, signage, reception areas. Depending on the concept and location, the upfront investment can become substantial. And here's the important financial question. How much revenue does each piece of equipment actually generate? A $10,000 machine doesn't automatically create $10,000 of revenue. It needs to contribute to the member experience, retention, or additional revenue. That's why smart gym owners don't simply ask, "What's the best equipment?" They ask, "What's the return on this equipment?" Now here's one of the strangest parts of the gym business. A gym might have 1,500 members, but it doesn't have 1,500 people inside at the same time. Obviously, if every member showed up at 6 p.m., the gym would be chaos. That's why gyms think carefully about capacity utilization. Morning, afternoon, evening, weekends. Some periods are packed. Others are almost empty. And that empty capacity represents something important. Unused inventory. Think about an airline. If a seat flies empty, the airline can't sell that exact seat after the plane leaves. A gym is different. If the gym has empty space at 2 p.m., the owner can potentially sell that capacity through personal training, small group classes, special programs, corporate memberships, day passes, or other services. The building is already paid for. So the goal becomes, generate more revenue from the same square footage. That's one of the biggest opportunities in the business. Here's where successful gyms become much more interesting. A gym doesn't necessarily make all of its money from basic memberships. It can build multiple revenue streams. For example, memberships, personal training, small group training, premium classes, nutrition coaching, recovery services, retail products, supplements where legally appropriate, merchandise, childcare, tanning, corporate wellness programs, and other specialized services. The idea is simple. Instead of asking one customer for only one payment, you create multiple ways to provide additional value. Let's say your gym has 1,200 members. Maybe the average membership produces $45 per month. That's $54,000. But suppose 100 members purchase personal training or another premium service that produces an additional average of $150 per month. That's another $15,000 per month. Suddenly, your monthly revenue isn't $54,000. It's $69,000. Same building, same basic member base, but a completely different revenue structure. This is why the economics of a gym are often about revenue per member, not just the number of members. Now let's say your gym has 1,200 members. Every month, some people cancel. Maybe they move. Maybe they lose interest. Maybe they stop going. Maybe they find another gym. Maybe they simply decide they aren't getting enough value. That's churn. And churn is dangerous because the gym has to constantly replace the customers it loses. Imagine losing 5% of your 1,200 members every month. That's 60 members every single month. Even if you aren't growing, you may need to acquire 60 new customers just to stay in the same place. And customer acquisition isn't free. You may spend money on Google ads, Facebook and Instagram ads, local promotions, referral programs, sales staff, free trials, discounts, and promotional offers. So here's a key business lesson. A gym that focuses only on getting new members can run on a treadmill forever. The better strategy is to increase the value of every member and keep them longer. Let's return to our hypothetical gym. Annual membership revenue, $648,000. Now imagine additional revenue from personal training, classes, retail, and other services brings total revenue to approximately $800,000 per year. Sounds fantastic. But now subtract expenses. Suppose occupancy costs are $150,000. Payroll, $220,000. Utilities and maintenance, $60,000. Insurance, software, cleaning, and administration, $70,000. Marketing, $50,000. Equipment financing, repairs, and miscellaneous expenses, $70,000. That's $620,000 in expenses. So, $800,000 revenue minus $620,000 expenses equals $180,000 operating profit. That sounds great. But remember, this is a simplified example. Real businesses have taxes, financing costs, unexpected repairs, owner compensation, depreciation, and many other factors. And this is exactly why you should never look at a gym and say, wow, they have 2,000 members. They must be rich. You don't know the economics behind those members. Now let's make this even more interesting. Suppose your gym has monthly operating expenses of $50,000, and your average net membership revenue is $50 per member per month. At a very simple level, $50,000 divided by $50 equals 1,000 members. That's your approximate membership break-even point before considering other revenue and more complex cost structures. Below that level, you may be losing money. Above it, your economics start improving. But here's the important part. If you can increase average revenue per member from $50 to $60, your break-even member count falls. $50,000 divided by $60 equals about 833 members. That's a huge difference. You didn't necessarily need 167 more customers. You improved the economics of the customers you already had. This is why pricing, retention, and upsells can be just as important as marketing. Now let's talk about the other end of the market. High-volume, low-price gyms. The basic idea is low monthly price plus huge membership base plus standardized operations. A company like Planet Fitness demonstrates how powerful this model can become at scale. Planet Fitness reported approximately 20.8 million members and 2,896 clubs at the end of 2025, with system-wide sales of about $5.3 billion. That's not the economics of a neighborhood gym. That's an entirely different machine. Large chains can spread marketing, technology, purchasing, branding, and other costs across thousands of locations. They can also negotiate equipment and other services at scale. And that creates a brutal competitive environment for independent gyms. Because a local gym can't always compete on price. So it has to compete on something else: community, specialization, coaching, convenience, experience, results, or a unique niche. The American fitness market isn't standing still. In 2025, commercial fitness facilities recorded 19 consecutive quarters of traffic growth, and average visits per location exceeded 184,000 for the year. High volume, low-price gyms remained especially strong, while boutique and mid-priced facilities also posted gains. And there's another important trend. The gym is increasingly becoming more than a room full of machines. Members are looking for experiences, strength training, group fitness, personal coaching, recovery, wellness, technology, community, and specialized services. That creates opportunities, but also creates costs, because every new service requires equipment, employees, training, space, marketing, maintenance. So a smart owner shouldn't chase every trend. They should ask, will this investment produce enough additional revenue or retention to justify its cost? That's the difference between buying something because it's popular and investing because it makes economic sense. Here's probably the biggest mistake. They fall in love with the gym. Before falling in love with the numbers, they imagine big building, beautiful equipment, huge mirrors, cool lighting, packed classes, people posting on Instagram. But none of that guarantees profit. Before signing a lease, an owner should understand how many members are realistically available in the market. What can the average customer actually afford? How many competitors are nearby? What is the expected churn? What is the customer acquisition cost? What is the break-even membership count? What will rent cost? What will payroll cost? How much cash is needed before the business becomes stable? And perhaps most importantly, what happens if membership grows 30% slower than expected? Because a business plan shouldn't only work in the perfect scenario. It needs to survive the bad one. Here's the most important idea in this entire video. A gym doesn't become financially powerful because someone joins. It becomes powerful when that person stays. Imagine two gyms. Gym A constantly gets new customers, but people leave quickly. Gym B grows more slowly, but members stay for years. Gym B can potentially build a much more predictable revenue base. And that's why retention is so valuable. If a member stays longer, the gym gets more opportunities to recover its acquisition cost, more opportunities to sell additional services, and more predictable recurring revenue. This is also why community can have economic value. A customer may leave a gym because of price, but they may stay because their friends are there. Their trainer knows them. They enjoy the classes. They feel comfortable. They see progress. They belong to a community. That emotional connection can have a very real financial impact. Now, let's answer the question. Is owning a gym profitable in 2026? It can be, but it isn't automatically profitable. The US market is large and growing. Consumer participation is strong. Membership reached record levels. Visits are strong, and operators are finding new ways to monetize fitness and wellness. But the business has serious challenges. High fixed costs, expensive equipment, labor, rent, competition, churn, customer acquisition, and constantly changing consumer expectations. The winners aren't necessarily the gyms with the most equipment, or the biggest buildings, or the cheapest membership. They're the businesses that understand their unit economics. How much does one member generate? How much does it cost to acquire that member? How long does that member stay? How much does that member spend? And how much profit is left after serving them? That's the real economics of owning a gym. So if you're thinking about opening a gym, don't start by asking, how much money can a gym make? Start with a better question. How much does it cost me to create one profitable member? Because once you understand that number, everything changes. You can calculate your break-even point. You can understand your marketing budget. You can decide whether to raise prices. You can evaluate personal training. You can measure retention. You can decide how much space you actually need. And you can finally stop thinking like someone who owns a gym and start thinking like someone who owns a business. Because at the end of the day, a gym isn't profitable because people are lifting weights inside it. It's profitable when the economics behind those people work. And that's the part most people never see. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe to the channel, because in the next videos we're going deeper into the economics behind everyday businesses, industries, and the companies Americans interact with every day. And remember, revenue makes a business look successful. Profit tells you if it actually is. Asterisk asterisk.